Okay, welcome back to the Jiu-Jitsu Mindset. My name is Pete Deeley. We're sending our love out to Professor Lucas Hubo, who will return at some point in time, but not today. As a new grandfather, I spent dinner with my granddaughter, Rhea. She's a month old, and I find her mount game exceedingly refined. At 4 weeks, she was up on my chest. I couldn't move one bit. So the new parents, my daughter and my son-in-law, are like many new parents, tired, so they have their submission coffee at the ready. And I would encourage you to get your submission coffee at the jujitsumindset.com. I need to confess that, look, the divine has sent us incredible people every week, and this interview nearly didn't happen because I was having such a good time talking to Professor Chrissie Vogel before we started that I almost kept her all to myself as opposed to doing the interview. So it's an incredible act of discipline that I made it to hit the record button. So, Professor, thank you for spending time with me. I'm really, really grateful that you did.
Thank you so much. I have to humbly take back your introduction only for one correction because
Excuse me, excuse me.
I'm not yet a professor, but I am an instructor
Oh,
and
and
basically the program coordinator, co-founder of my academy, Framework BJJ, with my husband.
excellent.
So I don't have that title yet,
Okay.
but working on it.
All right. Well, you're convincing enough that forgive my my misspeaking, but regardless, we are so
Well,
grateful that
thank
you're
you.
here.
I appreciate that. It's a tremendous honor, I think, when you are at that level and that people can, you've earned it for sure.
It's coming. Well, we begin generally our conversations with sort of, we were talking about art before, sort of the negative space, right? So what
Yes.
if jujitsu had not occupied all the energy and space that it has occupied in your life, like where would all that energy have gone? How would you be different? Your world be different? Your life be different if you hadn't dedicated all of that
You
energy and
know,
time to
I
jujitsu?
want this to be a sort of candid answer here. I'd like
Yeah.
to be totally honest with you. I'm pretty much I'm very unfocused.
Okay.
I have a lot of interests.
Hmm.
I enjoyed traveling a lot as a younger person, really because my mom's work brought us to a lot of different places. So, you know, if I had had any kind of discipline, it probably would have been geared towards the circus.
Oh, no kidding.
I don't know. I say that half joking, but then I'm like, maybe the circus would have
Maybe the
been fun.
circus. Where would you have been in the big tent? What would you have been doing?
I don't know. I have no idea. I'd probably be the mime because I have a
Okay.
really expressive face.
Yeah.
Um, but and then the other part of me that can um that can find the discipline is very, very much interested in people.
Hmm.
And I studied anthropology in school. So maybe that would have been a little closer to reality. I probably would
Yeah.
have wound up doing field work and maybe doing
Oh,
ethnographic work,
right.
doing interviews with people. I really like hearing people's stories.
Well, just a quick circus story because my grandfather was he was gymnastics in my family. My uncle was a gymnast, and he wasn't like a professional gymnast, but he was an athletic man. And
Yeah.
as a kid in New York, he had sort of a circus act, and the circus tried to recruit him to come do this circus act on the road. And he was a teenager when this happened. A guy like held this pole, and on top of the pole was this little platform, and he would do these flips and so on and so forth. And
That's amazing.
his parents put the kibosh on that, didn't
Um,
let him travel and do it. But the DNA of like the value of gymnastics to athleticism, his children, my dad's second youngest brother became a gymnast. So who knows? Had that
it was
happened,
there. It
maybe
was
I would
right.
have been a circus kid myself. So maybe the two of us would have been Barnum and Bailey kids.
Oh gosh.
Well, I am so as an observer and somebody who's like seeing people learn jujitsu and been a part of the business of bringing somebody who's interested and then watching them turn into a jujitsu athlete. When you
Yes.
think about the acquisition of knowledge and technique, I mean, how does it look to you as you compare it to other things? Is the acquisition of jujitsu techniques and skills and attitudes
Well,
transferred in any way that's unique?
yeah, I think what it, as undisciplined as I am as a person, and I say that, because it's true. I'm not trying to, it's not impressive the degree of, well, at any rate,
Yes.
for another day. But
Okay. Okay.
one of the things that I really liked and really loved about jujitsu is that um, you can train for a lifetime and still find new layers of technique and truth, right? But
Right.
it also just meets you where you are.
Yes.
Like, as in the way that I was, and at the time in my life when I encountered it, there was a lot of different layers to it. So I I actually went into it with zero expectation
Hmm.
and found that that ended up um, allowing me to grow in a way that I put no cap on it. So
Okay.
um, in jujitsu, failure isn't, for example, like a setback. It's part of the method.
Hmm.
So in most like disciplines, failure feels like regression. Like you fail an exam or you fail some sort of certification.
Right.
In jujitsu, failure, I guess you could say, is part of the curriculum.
Hmm.
So you tap not always well, you tapping and you're learning at the same time. So you
Right.
reset your understanding of control and humility at the same
Mm,
time
yes.
too. So um I think few arts make surrender an essential form of growth. I mean,
That's very well said. Yeah. Write that
well,
down. Hold on. I like that. Surrender as a part of the growth. That's perfect.
you know, the tap isn't like the end at all for me. It's the beginning of understanding.
Hmm.
And I was very fortunate to have a really great instructor and other great instructors and students to sort of usher me in. It really defined a new phase in my life. I
Okay.
didn't start training right away, but as the true anthropologist in me that it's kind of always stirring around, I was documenting the process. My husband was my subject. So um, I hope one day you'll get to meet him as well.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
he's very elegant. I really enjoyed photographing him.
Oh, wow.
He moves so slowly that capturing him on film and in media is really a treat for me. So I don't do it as much now because I'm working on the other side of it. Like I'm not the more passive observer like I was in the past.
Right.
But yeah, I think going back to your question, you can train a lifetime and you'll find a lot of techniques and truth in the techniques, and those two things run parallel with one another. So that's the physical and the philosophical.
Did you bring to it a deep history of like physicality, or was this a departure from, was this, were these movements and things as you got into them familiar in any way, shape, or form? Or like for me, I come to it at 50. I wasn't a wrestler. It was a
Yeah.
brand new physical vocabulary for me. And because I came to it as a 50-year-old and everybody in the joint was stronger, faster, bigger, whatever, that humility was, I wouldn't have lasted a month if I didn't have a big tank of humility I carry around with me. That so for you, um, as it seems like you had an interesting perspective because you were observer, participant, learner, all at the same time, and it was connected to your business life too. Just
And
curious if it felt awkward. What's that?
obviously now it encompasses most of my waking thoughts besides
Yeah,
my
yeah.
family. But I played tennis growing up. My stepdad was a tennis instructor,
Hmm.
and that was how we bonded. So I played tennis, and I was pretty lazy. He would always hit like cross court shots to remind me, like, you got to move and you got to be ready. So
Right.
that's really like the one thing that has stuck for me
Hmm.
even now. It's like you have to be in a ready position. That's a
Nice.
really great piece of advice.
Yeah.
And he was a very like sort of linear person, and he didn't like anything less than like meeting all of those fundamentals on the tennis court.
Okay.
But it was good for me. And
Yeah.
then I did fencing in high school.
Wow.
Um, but I didn't feel like I really fit in with the tennis players, and I didn't really fit in with the fencers. And so I don't know, maybe that was just a byproduct of moving around a lot, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that I pushed myself nearly as hard. And by the time I got to college, the only thing that I was really doing was mountain biking to school. Like
Right.
it was
Yeah.
very wooded and hilly. I went to school in New Jersey,
Hmm.
but I was biking probably, like a healthy amount, like a week, like probably 15 to 20 miles a day,
Right.
because I would ride my bike all the time. But when I moved to Philly, I was riding my bike. That's where my husband and I did jujitsu. And that was about it. I
Yeah.
wasn't really pushing myself past my limits. And so, no, I can't say, like, honestly, that it was familiar at all. And I really was kind of dumbfounded and boggled by the movements.
Sure.
And it was like relearning how to walk, something
Yeah,
like that.
that, and I think, yeah, I mean, and the reason why I ask is just sort of that mind body connection. I think, um, if you've grooved in certain habits of moving, if you were a particular type of athlete, then your body, I think, wants to connect back to what it's familiar with. If you're
Yeah,
a basketball player, your sense of balance of whatever. Fencing would be interesting to me because there's so much balance, that's needed in the midst of movement that I think might be an interesting point of connection.
it
But
is
then,
now.
yeah,
It is
okay,
now.
right, just to
But
harken
back,
back, right? Yeah,
yes. Now that I understand the value of striking in jujitsu and the need to know some of those basics,
right.
I can kind of draw a little bit from that experience. It's a little bit more linear when you're boxing and you're
Yes,
striking.
yes,
Obviously, it changes when you're doing more specialized. You're doing like Muay Thai or Savate. These things
sure.
change more of those direct avenues that you don't normally take when you're boxing.
Hmm.
Um, so that made more sense. And I've always, now that I'm getting older, yeah, there's a lot of things in martial arts that I haven't tried yet, but
Sure.
I've always hoped maybe on some level. I grew up watching a lot of really bad 80s action movies.
Oh, yeah,
And
right.
so maybe I had like a little secret hope, like I thought firstly growing up, maybe that I would do martial arts, but there was like really no women that I
Yeah, yeah.
saw doing it. So my uncles were in high school at the time and they would cut school a lot and we would just go rent movies. I was like 5 and they
Okay,
were like 15.
right.
So I would watch like Cynthia Rothrock or, Jackie Chan movies, a lot of B,
Yeah, yeah,
you know, films. And I was like, No Retreat, No Surrender. Michelle Yeoh used to
sure.
be in some movies. Actually, they were in a movie together. Yes, Madam. That was it.
Okay, okay.
But like that was it. It wasn't I never envisioned that I would be doing martial arts. I just
Yeah,
thought it was really cool, but I had no idea what jujitsu was and I had never really heard of it before until I reconnected with my husband. I've known my husband Drew since I was 13,
okay,
but we weren't together the whole time. We were like pen pals for a long time and then
okay.
when we came back, he told me he was doing jujitsu and that's how this whole thing got started.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. Well,
Yeah.
I think a blank slate is the other kind of interesting thing that if you come to it and, on occasion get people who are not athletes but have other motivations, and then there's nothing to undo. There's no movement patterns that are so ingrained, and I don't know, in some ways it might be potentially easier. I mean, it's hard to say. I find
You're
for me,
100% right. You're
okay,
100% correct.
all right.
I actively seek out people that are non-athletes
Mm-hmm.
because one, this is totally selfish. I love to see the transformation.
Mm,
It's
yes.
it's so incredibly satisfying to be able to. It's not mine. It's not mine. But I just have the privilege of having had someone show me and
Hmm.
then see someone else do it.
Yes.
So I'm like, this works.
Right.
It's the proof is there, and I'm just like a resource center.
Yeah. Yeah.
I am the most insignificant part of this chain, but when I see the other person, I'm like, there's my future training partner.
That's right.
So I'm looking for quality people that understand that it's about community and it's
Sure.
not about athleticism. So
Yeah.
you're like my favorite kind of person to get on my mats. It's like love it. You guys are totally trainable.
Right.
You're you've been slowed down because you can't move like you're 15, and you're just maybe you know who you are a little bit better.
Sure.
So when I give analogies or I explain something, I can pick from all these different places. I can pluck something out of there that maybe might be more challenging with like a 14-year-old to grasp,
Yeah.
you know? You've lived enough life where if I make a kind of random analogy, you'll go, "Oh,
Yeah. Right. Right.
I've
Well,
been
that
there before."
yeah, that's interesting. That part. Yeah, one thing coming to it at 50, it was like a hyper awareness of being able to see maybe what I would like to do and then my ability to execute even that. And I'm very much a beginner. I'm, about five and a
Yeah.
half years into it. So I'm like still the vocabulary is new to me. As you've observed people going from "Hey, haven't ever been on a mat" to being on the mats, I am curious about the role of competition from your perspective. Like, do you have you observed it being useful? Do you have an opinion that it should be a part of people's journey? Are you neutral on it? And then, of course, always if I ask you the question, what's your most memorable role? I am curious if what your lizard brain gives back to me, like, oh yeah, I remember this one time type of story.
And yeah, oh well, let's take a bite out of this in a couple pieces.
Okay.
So you kind of said, what is the value of competition if you've done it, right? And I don't really push that on my students at all. But just to bring it back to my personal perspective,
Yeah.
um, competition gives you something that adulthood rarely does. It's just like a chance to test yourself really honestly.
Yes.
And I think that's why a lot of people want to do it, even if they only do it one time. They'll
Yeah.
say, It's a little stressful. It's a little bit you can plan all you want, but there's still some unknown factor there. And I did submission only tournaments
Right.
with whatever woman would show up.
Right.
That's just the way it classically has been at these tournaments for me when I started, 10 years ago. Yeah. Yeah. It's like it's been 14 years now that I've
Okay.
been doing jujitsu, but I think I didn't start competing right away. So um it's just it was a chance for me to test myself, and um I think tournaments kind of put you a little bit on the edge. You feel your
Yeah.
nerves, fear, courage, and joy, all of that tangled up.
Yeah.
So if you asked me what was my more memorable match or
Yeah.
moment on the mat, and I was fighting the Good Fight tournament, and I had a grueling like 45-minute battle
Whoa.
with my friend, now my friend Ronnie Gabor, and before that I had done a 15-minute round, a 25-minute round, and another really quick round. Like I had done 3 fights already.
Oh my
And with
goodness.
sub only, there's no like time limit.
Yeah.
So it was a long day. And then we saw each other in the weigh-in area, and the promoter said, "Hey, he kind of like put us together near the tents where they weigh
Okay.
you." And
Yeah.
I just kind of looked at her and she looked at me, and it was in Long Island.
Okay.
And she had driven from like way up north in New York State,
Okay.
and I had driven from Philly, and we're like, "You know what? Screw it. Let's just do it." And like it was a very, when you just have a connection with someone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Obviously didn't know each other,
Sure.
but I was like, I trust her. Couldn't tell you why.
Right.
I thought that it would be a good challenge, and
Hmm.
there was a little glimmer in her eye, and I just thought she's got a good feeling to her, and I thought, you know, I'm not really doing this to go against her. It's never been about that for me. It's always when I decided to do it, it was truly a test for myself. Like, can I be grounded in my fundamentals and actually perform,
Yeah.
because I focus on Gracie Jiu Jitsu self defense. So in my mind's eye, I was like, if this is what I'm supposed to be preparing for, then I'm going to embrace it because I want to see how well I do under pressure here.
Nice.
If I can maintain that cool headed, because I never like drilled like fast and hard.
Right.
It was quite the opposite for me. My husband said to me one time and one time only, "You're moving way too much right now and you're going to hurt yourself."
Okay.
And I kind of didn't listen to him. I thought, "I'm really bendy." And he goes, "You're bendy now." He's like, "You're going to feel it later." He, he wasn't being mean either. He was like, "I'm just telling you from experience." But
Right.
of course, I'm a little more thick headed.
Uh-huh.
And I thought, well, I can turn that way. Like, what's the big deal? He's like, all right. And then sure enough, it's the only time I've ever felt really like discomfort from training. I
Yeah.
kept trying to escape the wrong way at the wrong time.
Right.
So by the time I got to this tournament, that was already like a lesson already, learned.
Okay. Okay.
So he's always been like a very quiet coach. I can
Hmm.
never hear my husband. He's like, if you're not ready now, there's nothing I can say to you. And that's actually a really great thing to know beforehand. He's like, you're either ready or you're not.
Right.
And whatever the outcome is, you'll learn something from it. And I was like, okay. Like it really took a lot of pressure off of me. It
Yeah.
wasn't like all the other activities that I did growing up. It wasn't like if you don't win,
Right.
you should feel badly and we have to go to the drawing board because you didn't absorb anything.
Right.
You
Right.
didn't absorb the lessons with jujitsu. Um, the structure of jujitsu has really helped me to push past my personal limits.
Yeah.
And that particular moment, we went 45 minutes, man. Like,
It's a
it,
long fight.
and I felt really like good about it. I was like, yeah, man. I was like, I have it in me.
Yeah.
I didn't win. She actually caught me in a knee bar, and I
Okay.
hadn't gone over knee bars at that point. I was
Okay.
maybe like a fresh blue belt.
Okay.
So when she caught my leg, she was extending it, and we were moving about as slow as you and I are talking.
Okay.
She starts extending it, and I'm looking at it, and I'm looking at her, and I don't really know what to do. And she was just so careful. And then I was like, "Oh, tap." And I
Okay.
and I
That's a good partner. Good competitor.
yeah, so I was like, "Oh, I like this lady." She recognized right away that I was totally uninitiated. So
Yeah.
to the knee bar, and she was so gentle, and Ronnie's bigger than me. So she could have like totally just like,
Yeah. Yeah.
yanked on that thing. And, you know, she wasn't. And she ended up coming to visit us in Philly not too
How?
long after with her boyfriend. And
Yeah.
I've always had like really good relations with the women that I've competed. And I've never really been able to do that in any other part of my life.
Yeah.
I
How interesting.
think that's really cool. I've never really had like girlfriends until I started doing jujitsu.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting substrate for people to come together. And I think it requires both the ability to be outward looking and inward looking at the same time. When I
Yeah.
think about all the different competitive environments that I've been in, it like I think about the endurance athlete community that I put my toe in and out of at different times. And it was just required such an inward focus that it felt like the community was a group of people coming together as to just
Yeah.
do their own thing. But you can't do jujitsu on your own. So you learned it with a partner who's you can't,
Yes.
you don't want to hurt and doesn't want to hurt you.
Yeah.
And then you show up on game day, um, that the that attitude, like Ronnie, has to be present for
Yeah.
particularly the older folks. I mean, I think meaning that if you're not looking to go to the ADCC and become the world's
Yeah.
greatest whatever, you probably have a more violent disposition on your way in. But for 99.9 of us, this is a game. We're going there
Yeah.
as a sport type of experience, not a combat to the death. But if you're not both aware of yourself and like cognizant that of this other person, I
Yeah.
don't think the experiences are good. So that story is a great example of that for me. And so I know in these years of 14 years of being around it and as a business owner now, you probably have many stories of how jujitsu's impacted other people. And I
I thought a lot about your question.
yeah,
And
so what's your
I
favorite? I know you got a lot, but what's
you're not gonna like this because I don't have
okay.
one.
Okay. All right. Good.
It's honestly hard for me to pick just one person. And I think, you know, every student changes me in some way.
Sure.
Uh I can only hope I've contributed to their journeys this way because so many people have supported mine.
Yeah.
You know, I don't always know what someone brings to the mats. Like, for example, sometimes it's about fitness or curiosity,
Sure.
but often it's something deeper. People are
Hmm.
healing from trauma. Maybe they're living with PTSD or they're trying to find peace after something painful.
Hmm.
Um, we don't always talk about it in jujitsu, what that thing actually is. I know I didn't really even acknowledge what I was going through as a young adult coming into jujitsu. I mean, I was in my, mid to late 20s, but I was definitely going through a lot of stuff.
Mhm.
And sometimes you don't even know how to talk about it, especially
Sure.
with a brand new group of people. So jujitsu does give people a safe space to reclaim their body, their sense of control. And for
Yeah.
me, it was even just figuring how to like breathe again
Yeah.
without
Yeah.
that anxiety. Cause I tend to have those are more my tendencies. I'm more
Hmm.
hyperactive and anxious person.
Yeah.
Jiu-jitsu, I find that those are so much more manageable, all those emotions. Some stories are just personal. Maybe they're meant to stay that way.
Right.
So
Right.
I don't have to know all the things, but so much happens on the mats that goes unspoken. And I
Hmm.
think that is something that offers me a lot of gives it's sort of like the things that illuminate the world, if I may be
Yeah. Yeah.
so bold to say, but like I tend to want to think the best and
Hmm.
keeps me positive. And when I meet people like this and you see them gain a little confidence, you see them become part of a community. I mean, that's why it's so hard for me to pick just one because
Sure.
every single one of those people are part of the patchwork and fabric of making that environment come together and making it special. So, my favorite thing is the people who thought that maybe they didn't belong on the mat.
Yeah.
That is my favorite thing. The ones that come in nervous and skeptical. I mean, I've definitely had people that go, I don't know if this is really going to work or if I can actually do it. Um, I get especially excited when you get these so-called non-athletes because I
Right.
don't
Right.
really believe that. I just think no one has tapped into your potential yet.
Yeah.
Um, so, you know, those are the people that fall in love with it hard.
Yeah. No, I think that's well said. And you're right. I mean, I don't know where we might draw the boundary around what does it mean to be an athlete and not an athlete, but the one thing that is for sure, somebody thinks of themselves as an athlete by feeling that connection to their body. And as somebody who thinks that, being connected to your body makes it easier to be connected to your mind, and as somebody who thinks you have a soul, spirit, like that spiritual, physical, mental combination when you step onto the mats there's a demand, I think, that you address those things, which is part of what I think is special about the experience, because you can get hurt so easily if
Yeah.
you insist on your point of view versus the truth of the situation. If
Yeah.
you're that knee bar, if you would insisted, hey, I'm not in danger, and you were with somebody who was like needed to prove a point, not tapping ends in an injury. And I think that dynamic plays out every day on the
It
mats.
does. It
So,
does. I really fight hard against that happening. I try to be really mindful when I bring people together. I think my husband and I both being there, we're like two halves of a whole. We have very
mhm,
different personalities. He's the exact opposite of me.
okay.
And that has its own fun little challenges. But truthfully, it does bring that sweet balance to
Yes.
the mix. So, just bringing it back to the initial question, like who's that person? What's happening? Why is that person? Whoever that person is,
Right.
what I do know is when people come into jujitsu, even if they've done sports before, there's a level of uncertainty that just
Yes.
is is normal and natural. And then they go into this next stage. And I don't know if, men necessarily can or do feel as comfortable calling it empowerment.
Right. Right.
But when I see that transformation for me, that's my favorite story every single time.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
When I see people connecting and then finding themselves and being able to express themselves and, you know, seeing what their curiosity has allowed them to
Yeah.
really delve deeply into.
Right.
Because you don't really know what you're in for.
Yes.
It's as deep as there are volumes to you.
Yes. Ah, well said. I like that. Yeah, I mean, the cliche I think is still useful in that, like, well, what's the hardest belt to get? The hardest belt to get is the white belt, right? Because it's
Yes.
you're in a very small group of people compared to the aggregate who are willing to go and and learn something that for most people is going to be new,
Yeah.
unusual, difficult, and require so much time. One of the reasons why Professor Lucas and I began the podcast is we felt like so many people got to the end of year one, or got to their blue belt and then stopped. And we felt like, oh, it's such a shame that you're
Yeah.
exiting now because all the good stuff for you is you haven't got a chance really to get there, and
That's a
we
little bit ego, if I may say so, because I think we imagine when we watch other people on the mat that are
right.
already
Okay.
experienced, we're gonna conquer other people. I think like as a white belt, you don't perceive your failures in the same way as like a purple belt, and
Right, right,
failure
right. Yeah,
is
yeah.
such a relativistic term. Like when you tap all the time, I don't even understand that thought process anymore because I teach
Right.
little kids and they're constantly submitting me. So
Yeah, yeah.
it's just where I am right now in my
Mhm.
life. But uh, I think like the one thing that you begin to understand is yourself.
Mhm.
And when you cut that path off, that's what you're ostensibly doing. You know, you're eliminating one other way or road to self discovery.
Yes, yes. Oh, I couldn't agree more. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really talk about jujitsu like this at all. I really haven't had a chance to really delve deeply into these kinds of questions, but jujitsu is universally accessible. So anyone can do it. It grows as you grow. It meets you where you are. Wherever it scales to your body, your limits, your life. I too feel that pain when someone leaves. I don't say anything because I understand that it's a big commitment for some people and
Yes.
people have families. We decided to have children later in life and that was totally not in my plans. We've never talked about having kids
Right.
uh really before. We were married for 10 years.
Yeah.
So I understand um but it's about finding balance, and
Yeah.
when you stop doing it, to me, I just think you haven't even scratched the surface. There's
Y
so
y
much.
yes. Yes, and that's I guess what I meant, and I think one of the things that I always was worried about was that if the person on day one fights themselves on day 300, there's such a massive change. And so the ability to appreciate your development is so fast in the beginning because it's, but then you have to be able to, there has to be a devotional quality to it where you go and put your time in without the observation. There have been many times where I'm like, I'm getting worse. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Like I'm regressing. And that in fact may be true with me, but I think and most people, it's you're dropping pennies in the jar every time you're there.
Yeah,
And to have that devotional quality to it um, is building that muscle of we show up to improve, but we don't always know we're improving. We show up to love our spouse, our children every day, even because that's what we need to do. And it's in the total, the sum of all of those days that you're there, that the beauty and improvement and the joy exists. And I
I
don't
love
know.
that. I love that you said that. It tells me everything that I need to know about you.
Very
I
generous.
don't know
Thank
if
you.
that's,
That's
um,
very generous. Thank you.
I like when and I don't mean the devotional part at all. I mean, when you said, I feel like I'm regressing, that tells me that you're learning. And I can only say that as a teacher.
Yeah.
That is the best thing that I can hear because as an instructor now, I don't have all of my teachers with me, but I remember sort of the feeling of the same, you know, the rhythms would be like, am I getting set back here now? And then
Yeah.
now that I'm training by myself, a lot of the times
Yes. Right.
without my teachers around, like maybe even my husband and I don't share the same schedule. It's me and my students. They're mostly white belts.
Right.
I've been very fortunate that we have 2 black belts now that are on our mats because we just reestablished our new school here in Florida.
Right.
So we had more black belts in Seattle now.
Okay.
And, like just seeing that whole process and and I kind of go back to myself and I'm like, I want to teach myself something new right now.
Yeah.
And whenever I want to show myself something new, that means that something else is going to suffer. Like if I want to understand how to better deal with side control position using these techniques that I've
Hmm.
learned recently,
Yeah.
I'm going to have to put myself at a deficit. One, I'm going to start on the bottom. So we're not
Right.
going to just slap hands and hope that we get there. Two, I'm going to do something I've never done before, which might include some actual like proprioception stuff that is
Yeah.
unfamiliar to me. Like people have shown me movements in jujitsu and they're like, yeah, just whip and turn. And I'm like, I haven't done that before.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like, can I do it? I had a moment where I was like, know if I can do that. And then
Yes.
they're like, just bring your toes together and then swing
Hmm.
the legs this way, and the momentum will take you there. And I'm like, that was much easier than I thought. So if you're not failing, I don't think, and you don't have to be like super. I don't want to discourage people. Sometimes you just can't make it in one week. Sometimes life is really overwhelming.
Without
I
a doubt.
basically
Yeah.
like people will text me and say, I can't make it. I'm like, cool, I'll see you next week or I'll see you this weekend. You're not obligated to tell me anything. I appreciate the heads up, and I think
Sure.
they do it because they care. They're
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
"I don't want you to think that I forgot about you." I'm like, "You know what? Forget about me. If you're sick, feel better. Thanks for not coming in.
Right.
2,
Right.
you need that time to decompress and step away from jujitsu to actually see where what you've learned." So the devotional aspect is, of course, that's more rare, honestly.
Yeah.
I
And
get
by
like constantly.
yeah, and by devotional, just to be clear, what I mean by that is not so much that like, oh, I'm in every single time, as much as that you continue without evidence of advancement. That the devotional quality is that you elect not to give up, even though you don't have something to hang your hat on. Like, I'm much better today at this, because it's always easier to keep going when there's
Yeah,
something to hang your hat on.
right.
I did that, but in those, I think the development for me is there's some little thing I grasp in my body, and then I feel like it goes away. My body is like somehow or other digesting it, and then it shows up more refined. And then, but, and my primary training partner over the years is a gentleman named Han, who's quite excellent. And even though he's only a few months ahead of me in terms of times on the mat, he's in light years ahead of me in skills. Now, Han might tell you, yet no, uh, instructor
Um,
Chrissie, he really is worse than he was before. But in terms of my own experience, well, let's do this. Tell people where to find you, because you have schools, you have social media things. Tell us,
sure.
people might go,
Well,
well, how do I get involved? Where do they come find you guys?
you can always come try a class. We love having visitors. We have a lot of
Excellent.
people that come from out of town. We've moved to Florida and we're living on a barrier island on the East Coast.
Okay.
So it's a beautiful location. We're not too far from like Cocoa Beach and Cape Canaveral.
Wow.
It's a great surfing town area, kind
Nice.
of vibe to it. So Framework BJJ is actually located in Indian Harbor Beach.
Okay.
So if you are coming from Orlando, we're probably about like an hour away. And we've been here for the last like 2, almost 3 years.
Okay.
And if you want to visit one of our original locations, you can visit us at Framework Seattle.
Okay.
And that is where we originally started our school. So my husband and I have been on both coasts.
Okay.
We have had quite, a storied adventure in our time establishing our schools. You can also follow us on Instagram at
Very good.
Framework BJJ
Okay.
and at Framework BJJ Florida. Yes. Give me 1 minute, kiddo. All right. I have a very demanding audience here as well.
Yes, you should.
Um,
Yeah. Go ahead.
it is what it is. Yes, let me buy. What do you got there? He's got Yeti and my spaghetti. This is very
Okay.
important.
Very good. All right. And for those of you listening, just so that way I don't find myself in a triangle that I can't tap my way out of, the honey pie wasn't directed to me. That was to Dylan, her son. So lest
That's
I
okay.
get
Well,
lest somebody get want to straight me out down the road. Well,
no,
you were wonderful. Thank you for, spending
thank
time with
you.
us. I
It was
mean, I hope that you'll come
fantastic.
back and continue the conversation, and maybe we'll get your husband to come and join us sometime.
I
That would
would
be
love that. It was an amazing time to be alive.
isn't it?
Despite all the things that are happening in the world, I'm very grateful. I'm thankful for it. And I feel so lucky to have had the privilege of speaking with you. Thank you for
Oh, that's
making
very
time for
generous.
me.
Oh, my pleasure.